My sisters loathed me to the bone. When I jumped from a high rise to end my 19-year-old life, I woke up back at age 14. Why make me do it all over? But I didn't know my sisters could hear my inner thoughts. At midnight, while the eldest sister worked in her study, she suddenly heard a boy's voice. Is the bathwater deep enough, or is glass faster? She was so shocked she crushed her pen. It was her brother, Chi-Sili, speaking from the next room. She rushed in, seeing the mess and blood splatters until finally, her gaze fixed on my hand, covered in cuts and glass shards. She grabbed my thin wrist and threw me onto the bed. Chi-Ang-Xia's voice was terrifyingly low. Chi-Sili, are you crazy? Seeing my silence, she suppressed her emotions, trying to regain her calm. Explain. What's going on? On the bed I didn't move, mocking her in my head. Explain why I want to die. Explain 10 years of neglect and loathing. Explain my helplessness when you blamed a 4-year-old for our parents' death. To people like you. What's there to explain? It's over. Are the veins not cut deep enough? I'll try harder next time. Buzzing sound. Chi-Ang-Xia's mind went blank. The accident, parents, guilt, a 4-year-old. Memory fragments were torn open by my thoughts. At the funeral, a young me in black trousers, clutching a tattered bunny, hid behind a wreath. With terrified eyes, I watched the 4 sisters. The eldest, Chi-Ang-Xia, was barely holding it together while managing everything. Her eyes were weary and cold. The second sister, Chi-Roxy, looked at me like an obstacle to be cleared. The third sister, Chi-Wang-King, smiled perfectly at guests, but her eyes were cold. The fourth sister, Chi-Shu-Yao, locked herself away, shutting out the world, including me. Who spoke first? I think it was Chi-Roxy. She coldly called me a jinx. If I hadn't begged to go to the amusement park, our parents wouldn't have changed their plans and hit that truck. That became their reason to loathe me. For 10 whole years, they treated me like air, a mark of shame, a stain that shouldn't exist. They gave me luxury but no attention or warmth, leaving me to wither like a weed in the villa's corners. Chi-Ang-Xia's frame swayed. So, I knew all along. She opened her mouth but couldn't find any words to explain or question. What right does she have? Looking at the small me on the bed, she saw my despair clearly. Thud. Another loud noise, followed by an angry question. What's going on? Chi-Roxy appeared like a ghost, expressionless. She scanned the room, her gaze falling on Chi-Ang-Xia's pale face, then on my wrist, on the fresh cuts and red marks. Chi-Ang-Xia snapped back, meeting Chi-Roxy's cold gaze, but was speechless. I stayed curled up, as if none of this mattered. However, that numb inner voice echoed again in their minds. Roxy. Second sister is back. That was fast. Is she here to finish me off? Fine. A mercenary's methods should be cleaner, saving me the pain. Chi-Roxy's pupils contracted. That voice wasn't a hallucination. She looked at Chi-Ang-Xia, seeing the same shock and pale face. This voice was their brother, Chi-Sili. This realization was like a grenade exploding in Chi-Roxy's rock-solid heart. Finish him off? Mercenary methods. Is that how he sees us? She clenched her fists, her knuckles cracking, veins bulging. The air in the room froze. Only my faint breathing remained, along with the heavy heartbeats of the 2 women. Just then, a light, flamboyant humming approached, breaking the silence. Is there a party? It's so lively. Chi-Wang-King leaned against the door, her smile playful as she covered her mouth and laughed. Her face wore a signature radiant smile that could make thousands of fans scream, revealing a row of neat white teeth. When she saw the scene in the room and the unusually grim expressions of her 2 sisters, a subtle sharpness and gravity flashed in her eyes. Her gaze swept across the mess of glass shards on the floor, finally landing on my lifeless profile. Her smile remained flawless, but the warmth in her eyes quietly faded. Little silly, what's wrong? Are you throwing a tantrum with your sisters? Chi-Wang-King's voice carried its usual intimacy and playfulness as she walked in with her long legs. Just like a child. It's just a little scratch, no big deal. Come, let your third sister see if it's serious. As she spoke, she naturally reached out. The moment she was about to touch my cold skin, that cold, world-weary inner voice once again entered the minds of the 3 women present. Third sister's acting is still so good, hypocritical sunshine masking the poison within. You want to check my hands? Are you afraid I've hidden a blade or sleeping pills? How many grams of sleeping pills would be enough? 1 bottle or 2? Chi-Wang-King's outstretched hand suddenly froze in midair, and for the first time, a crack appeared in that perfect smile. Hypocritical. Poison. Sleeping pills. How many grams? These voices kept flooding into her brain. Clearly the child hadn't opened his mouth, so why could she hear him? Could it be his inner thoughts? These were Sili's inner thoughts. The air in the room dropped to freezing point because of this eerie and cold inner voice. Just then, in the shadows of the room's corner, a figure almost merging with the darkness moved silently. Fourth sister, Chi-Shu-Yao, had stood there unnoticed. She kept her head down, focused intently on the tablet in her hands. However, the moment my inner thoughts about the sleeping pill surfaced, Chi-Shu-Yao's fingers on the edge of the tablet tapped rapidly. I curled up on the bed, my inner world a silent void. Fourth sister is here too. Can a hacker find a painless way to die? Or where to buy cyanide? Jumping off a building still seems the fastest. With a soft snap, a crack was squeezed into the military-grade tablet in Chi-Shu-Yao's hand. Painless death. Cyanide. Jumping is fastest. These suicide plans, coming from the heart of a 14-year-old boy, carried 100 times the horror. The four sisters in the room froze. Chi-Ang-Xia stumbled forward a step, her voice hoarse and broken as she pleaded, "Chi-Sili, don't leave." I lay motionless on the bed, but my inner voice carried a hint of confusion. Don't leave? Hasn't there been no place for me in this home for a long time? What kind of blood is thicker than water family drama are they acting out now? Or is this a new way to torture me? The confusion and numbness in my thoughts were more shocking than the previous sarcasm and despair. I no longer believed in any of their reactions. I simply saw it as another form of torment. Chi-Ang-Xia opened her mouth, wanting to say it wasn't like that, wanting to explain, to make amends. But 10 years of neglect and hurt were like cold, hard evidence, making all her words seem pale and powerless, hypocritical and laughable. "Get out!" The words I spat out were cold, without a trace of warmth, as if driving away a loathsome plague. "All of you, get out." The voice wasn't loud, but it struck the four women's hearts heavily, yet no one moved. The air was thick with silent confrontation. Silence, a deathly silence. Finally, Chi-Ang-Xia moved first. She slowly and with great difficulty withdrew the hand she had reached out toward me. She didn't look at me again, but turned her gaze to her three younger sisters. "Roxy, guard the door. Sili's condition is very bad right now. Don't let anyone near this floor, especially the servants. Wang-King, contact Elder Chen. Ask him to come immediately. No matter where he is or what it takes, I must see him." Elder Chen was the Chi family's doctor. He was also a top psychological expert in the country. Chi-Ang-Xia took one last look at the curled-up figure on the bed before heavily exiting the room. I was left alone. I slowly unclenched my right hand, which I'd been holding tight. In my palm was a small, triangular glass shard with extremely sharp edges. When Chi-Wang-King reached for me earlier, I'd instinctively hidden it in my palm. I thought to myself, next time, I should pick a quiet place. Until the sky turned completely dark, I walked barefoot. I walked straight to the private bathroom in the room. Click. The sound of the door bolting was exceptionally clear in the silence. Outside, Chi-Roxy, leaning against the cold wall, suddenly opened her closed eyes. Inside the bathroom, I stood before the sink. The cracked mirror reflected my hollow eyes and messy black hair. I didn't look at the mirror, but just looked down at my right palm. That sharp, triangular glass shard lay there quietly. I reached out with my left hand and gently brushed the sharpest edge of the shard. A slight sting followed, and a bright red drop of blood immediately welled up. "It really is sharp." That cold, numb inner voice clearly pierced through the walls, like a death knell ringing in the minds of the four women outside. "Cutting down should be quick. Where is the artery?" My left wrist slowly rises, held before my eyes. Beneath the pale skin, the light blue veins are faintly visible. My right hand pinches that piece of glass, precisely pressing it against the most prominent vein on the inside of my left wrist. Found it. This is the spot. Just a forceful slice. And this time, no one will ever disturb me again. With a deafening boom, the bathroom door exploded inward like paper. At the doorway, Chi-Roxy lunged in. Downstairs, Chi-Ang-Xia sprang from the sofa the moment she heard the blast, stumbling as she rushed upstairs. My movements didn't pause for a second. Just as my wrist was about to slice down, at the critical moment, a large bony hand firmly gripped my right wrist holding the glass shard. The force was so great it nearly crushed my bones. My body instinctively recoiled, and I was thrown back a step by the force, my back slamming hard against the cold tiled wall, leaving me dizzy. A suppressed groan of pain escaped my throat. The pain wasn't from my wrist, but from the impact on my back. Roxy's tall figure completely loomed over me. She gripped my right wrist tightly, pinning me firmly against the wall. Her other hand precisely clamped onto my left wrist. She lowered her head, her cold, sharp gaze fixed on my face. In those eyes, anger and fear surged, along with a strange storm I couldn't understand at all. My voice was hoarse and weak, carrying heavy exhaustion and a hint of annoyance at having my plan forcibly interrupted. I struggled for a moment, but the disparity in strength was like an ant trying to move a tree. Chi-Roxy didn't let go. Instead, she tightened her grip. She looked at the small, bleeding wound on my wrist, and the numb, hopeless expression on my pale face that seemed not to feel any pain. A surge of nameless fire mixed with a bone-chilling coldness rushed to her head. "What do you think you're doing?" Her voice was low like rolling thunder, each word squeezed out from between her teeth, carrying a suppressed, extreme rage, and a tremor she hadn't even noticed herself. I remained silent. That cold inner voice, filled with deep mockery and exhaustion, once again crashed clearly into Chi-Roxy's mind. It was simultaneously transmitted to Chi-Ang-Xia and Chi-Wang-King, who had just reached the door, and to Chi-Shu-Yao downstairs, who was staring fixedly at the monitor. "What am I doing?" I looked up, my hollow eyes finally focusing, meeting Chi-Roxy's burning gaze directly. There was no fear in my eyes, no plea for mercy, only a dead, frozen wasteland and a weariness that reached my very marrow. Chi-Ang-Xia's tall figure blocked the shattered doorway, her face ashen. Her chest heaved violently as she looked at her scarred brother pinned against the wall by Chi-Roxy. Chi-Wang-King stood behind Chi-Ang-Xia, watching the scene. Her usual mask completely crumbled, leaving only shock and a heavy, suffocating mix of emotions. For the first time, she clearly saw the lifeless desert in my eyes, and for the first time, she saw such intense emotion from her second sister. A nearly absurd ripple crossed my hollow eyes. What's wrong with them? Why has everything changed? Why do they all care about a burden now? These internal questions were like ice picks stabbing into everyone's hearts. Chi-Ang-Xia's body swayed violently, nearly losing her footing. She gripped the broken doorframe until her knuckles turned white. Her voice was hoarse and broken, carrying an unprecedented weakness and pain. She looked at Chi-Roxy. Enough. Let him go, Roxy. You're hurting him. Chi-Roxy's chest heaved, her sharp eyes fixed on me. But finally, at that raspy, enough, her hand gripping my wrist very slowly and stiffly, bit by bit, released its pressure. I slid down the cold tiled wall to the floor, gasping for air. My body trembled from the impact and the lingering fear. Chi-Roxy slowly stood up and stepped back. Chi-Ang-Xia took a deep breath, forcing down her emotions. She stepped through the broken door into the small bathroom, took off her expensive suit jacket and knelt down somewhat stiffly, trying to drape the jacket over my thin, trembling shoulders. I flinched violently, like a startled lion, instinctively avoiding her touch, and buried my face deep between my knees, leaving only a back full of resistance and detachment. That soft cashmere coat now feels as heavy as a mountain. She looks at that figure who rejects all closeness, her heart feeling as if it's being tightly gripped by an icy hand. A massive sense of helplessness, and that guilt, 14 years late, are enough to drown her. At the door, Chi-Wang-King looks at her eldest sister's stiff back, and her brother on the floor who's shutting everyone out. Her throat tightens, and she can't say a word. For the first time she feels that the social skills she took such pride in, which could resolve any awkwardness or crisis, seem so pale and laughable now. In this suffocating silence, from the living room downstairs, the butler Zhang Bo's slightly hurried voice comes through clearly over the intercom speaker. Breaking the frozen air, eldest miss,